Well, Sheriff Israel, thank you for attending today. This is the local International Union Police Association 6020's effort to conduct a fair endorsement process for all candidates that are seeking the office of the Broward County Sheriff. Thank you again for coming through here to answer some of the questions that the membership has of you, so that we can get a better feedback of the direction of the agency going forward, plus with some current events going on today. And as this process goes forward, our membership will actually be the ones that are going to vote for who to endorse, not just a select group of people. So this is the great opportunity that we have to provide you direct communication with all the members, and hopefully that works out with you on that.
Sounds good. I'm very privileged and honored to be here. And before we start, Jeff, personally, I want to tell you that since IUPA's became the guardian unit for our DLE membership, you've gone out of your way to open the lines of communication. I hope you feel the same way about myself and my staff, and I look forward to a continued productive relationship.
I do. It's great to have that line of communication and feel we can resolve the simple problems without being a big deal.
Absolutely.
So, okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we start?
Well, I'll close.
Sure. Okay. Sure. For the first question that we have for you, what makes you more qualified than the other candidates to be the sheriff of Broward County?
Well, by far, I'm the more experienced and most effective leader. Everything about this job is about leadership, about transparency. I took over an agency that was in disarray. If you'll remember, I wasn't even allowed in the building. There was no transition period. So my first day of being in the building and the sheriff was January 7th, I believe, 2013. And it was a tumultuous time. I think my second day in office, two of our deputies, I was forced to suspend immediately to begin an investigation, something that should have happened years before. So the leadership, and I talk this way about leadership all the time, and that, is why I'd be honored to have the endorsement, and why I think, I certainly deserve the endorsement. I like to tell a story about if we're in a briefing and we have 25 cars, and the leader gives the briefing, and the leader says, all 25 cars are going to come out of the public safety building, we're going to go northbound on I-95, and we're going to exit and go westbound on Commercial Boulevard. And everybody expects that. Now the leader's driving and leading the procession, and they get north of Sunrise, they get north of Oakland, and now we're getting up to Commercial Boulevard. And instead of getting off at Commercial, the leader decides without communication to proceed northbound and cross over Commercial and head towards Cypress and Atlantic. If that leader, if he or she is an effective leader and the leader that they need to be, every one of those cars in procession will follow that leader and know that they're going to take them to where they need to be. They're going to have the confidence in that leader. The leader goes to the right, they're going to go to the right. The leader goes to the left, they're going to go to the left. And I feel this agency is absolutely behind me. I believe this agency believes in my mission to reduce violent crime, to keep kids out of jail, to treat people with dignity and respect, to give people fair wages and fair benefits. So my leadership and where I've been, I'm a battle-tested leader. I mean, just have to look around at the things that have come, to fruition during my administration, and we've shied away from nothing. Everybody wants to be the leader, and everybody wants to be critical, and he or she could do a better job when the skies are blue and the sea's flat. But when you really need the leader is when the seas become unpredictable and turbulent. That's when you need strong leadership, a battle-tested leader to navigate through those waters. And that's why I think this agency, I would hope and be honored with the endorsement, and I look each and every one of you in the face, as well as the membership, and say, I truly earned it and deserve it.
Thank you.
Sheriff, I just want to ask a quick question. More previous experience in budgeting, what is before you became the sheriff, what is the largest budget you oversaw?
It would have been the largest budget over the North Bay Village. I was the chief of police in North Bay Village, and I believe the budget was, I would say in excess of $20 million. I'm really not sure, so I about that, but but let me say this about budgeting, and that's a great question, but everybody budgets, whether you have a $5,000 a month budget or a $5 million a year budget. It's putting the right people in the right place, and to team build, and that's probably one of the strongest areas that I excel in, and that's putting together a team that could flat out do the job at hand, the task at hand. Daphne Perez, for example, who I brought in, is managing this budget in the most exemplary manner possible. She deals with the county commission, she deals with staff, she deals with fire, detention, police, non-sworn, and we have a great team managing the budget, and we have budgetary meetings. I'm briefed constantly, and I think we're in a really good place for handling the budget. The only negative is the lack of money that the county commission gives to us.
Thank you.
With that said, I would like to follow up on one question. Do you feel that, have you done any research in counties that are similar in size? Do you feel like the budget in Broward, the county commission gives the sheriff's office considerably less when you compare it to other like counties in the state?
I don't know if our budgetary people, to be honest with you, I don't know if our budgetary people have done those studies. They may have or they may not, but to me it's not relevant. We have to stay in our lane in Broward County. We have problems in Broward County that are indigenous to no one else. We have our own, we have to stay in our lane and take care of Broward County. And I said before, the men and women that make up this agency, and I've worked for 3 agencies, I've been on many task forces all over, I've done drug deals all over the country. I've worked with every federal agency I could think of, and state agencies, and I don't think there's an agency in Broward County that I haven't worked with. And I could look at the membership here and say that the men and women who comprise the Broward Sheriff's Office, both civilian, Department of Law Enforcement, detention and fire, are the greatest people I've ever been around. Amazing people. And at the end of the day, and I've said this to Jeff in the privacy of my office, and I've never backed away from this, and I might have even said it in negotiations. At the end of the day, I'm giving the fairest contracts I possibly could. But the men and women of this agency, the Department of Law Enforcement, are going to be underpaid. And I've never come away from that. I know what you deserve. I know how you protect and serve. I know how you reduce crime. I know how you enhance the quality of life of the citizens you serve. But unfortunately, too many elected officials make decisions based on getting reelected. I don't make decisions based on getting reelected. I don't make the popular decision. I make the right decision, what I think is in the best interest of each and every person that I serve in the community and the people that I lead on this agency. So I don't know how relevant those others are. I know that in Broward County we need more money to give more benefits and salaries to the men and women that make us great, and that we need more money to bring more men and women to this agency and make this a safer county. Counties, and there are some great county commissioners, and there are some county commissioners that support public safety. There are some that, they might say it, but as my dad used to say, well done is better than well said. Show me, don't tell me. So they can say whatever they want, but when it's time to vote, how are they voting? To the membership, my job is not to save dollars. My job is to save lives.
Thank you.
Sheriff, leadership requires courage and commitment. Provide an example from your law enforcement career where you were presented with an issue where you made a decision that was not necessarily the popular choice, but the correct choice.
Countless. I mean, we could be here all day, but truly countless. But when I was the sheriff-elect, after I won the election, there was that period between November and January where I had hoped to come into the building and talk to people and learn, and that never came to fruition. But during that time, being a very aggressive worker, I made meetings with just about the city managers and or elected officials from every city in the county that we provide either fire or police or both to. And I ran into, I'm not going to name any cities or what have you, but I ran into elected officials in cities who demanded that I keep their district, either fire chief or district police chief, in place because of the relationships they had. And here I was, knowing that the right decision is, people say sometimes, well, you brought some people over from Fort Lauderdale. Well, you're darn right I brought some people over from Fort Lauderdale, and look at the talent and the skill and the subject matter experts that came over with me. And I brought some people from Hollywood, and I brought some people from other places. I had been in law enforcement 30 some odd years at that time, and I knew some of the greatest professionals in the world. No matter what anybody else comes here and says, don't believe that anyone will become sheriff of Broward County and not build his or her team. You have to build, like every president, every general, you build your own teams. And I'm very good at putting round plugs in round holes. You became as the president of IUPA. You didn't become the president of IUPA and keep the PBA vice president and secretary and treasurer. You brought in your own people. That's the only way that you won't be stagnant and you'll be productive. Well, that's what I did. Tried and tested professionals who deeply care about, serving the community. And we as an agency are all better for that. So the answer to your question is when pressure was put on me by elected officials in other cities, Sheriff, you will be keeping this person. No, I won't. I'll be building my own team. I'll be building a team of people that don't necessarily see everything the same way I do, but they see the mission the same way. What's that mission? To treat people with dignity and respect, to make sure that we're honest, that there are no scandals. We've done everything we've been asked to do, and everything that this county has asked us to do. The citizens of this county, we've done. The discipline, I hope, and that's the easy thing when you're amongst cops. I don't really have to come. This is not a campaign moment for me. This is a moment of just to share honest dialogue, back and forth. What I can learn from you, and what I can take back to staff today, and what you can learn from me. But I'm not campaigning, for the endorsement. You've been around me for 4 years. You've been around other sheriffs. You have seen the body of my work. If the membership, those that are going to vote, have seen the body of my work and they say, you know what, this sheriff has done a great job. Things are different. I'm in a better place now than I was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. They're going to vote to endorse me. And if they feel that it was better or they liked it better under a different administration, they probably won't vote. But that's what's easy about this day. It's my body of work that everybody knows about, and they're going to vote accordingly.
Thank you. Sheriff, where do you see the need to make the most change within the Broward Sheriff's Office? And where do you see the Broward Sheriff's Office 5 years from now down the road?
Well, I see the Broward Sheriff's Office. I'm not an empire builder. Other sheriffs before me sought to bring in other cities and what have you. And if any other city calls me up and they say, Sheriff, I'd like a proposal for fire, I'd like a proposal for deputies, I'll certainly give them that. And and produce the honest documents. I'm a sheriff about revenue neutral contracts. I'm not going to put out contracts out there that aren't financially wise, where we're going to have to be taken from one place to pay. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make sure that any city that wants to come aboard pays what they do, and the cities that are here now pay what they are. So I see the Broward Sheriffs in 5 years from now from a size standpoint, I can't predict. You know, where I see it as a place of where my leadership, I like my legacy to this agency be of courage. I haven't backed down from the fights that need to be need to be fought. You know, I think at the end as I leave, I think, you know, whenever my time is, I think you know, the membership's going to say, well done. You know, I fought the good fight, and I love the job. I'm obviously running for re-election. It's a great job, but it's a grind. You know, it's a tough job.
Sheriff, how will you foster an environment that ensures fair treatment of all deputies?
Well, I think I've already done that. I think it started with bringing over Colonel Dale to be in charge of public corruption and internal affairs. The Internal Affairs Division is fair. The boards that we work with, either pre-disciplinary or post-disciplinary, disciplinary boards, they're fair. I listen. The best leaders are the best listeners. We haven't forgotten where we've come from. You know, there but for the grace of God go I. And I believe right now that there's an environment of fairness, and that grievances are encouraged. If the union wants to bring forth a grievance, I'd love to. We try and work them out before they go further. But Jeff would tell you or any of the members right now, I've never ever said to him, don't file this grievance or don't file that grievance. I've told Jeff, your most important job when you come in that building is to support the membership. I know he wants to work well with me, and we do work well with me, but I've told him and every other union president on this agency, protect the membership and do what you need to do with the membership. So we want our members protected, and I think there's complete fairness, and I'm very pleased with where we are.
Sheriff, I think the next question, you pretty much hit on it as well, but I'll go over it. Maybe you can add on to the previous answer, but one of the most important tools for a union to be effective is the ability to openly grieve against the agency without the fear of retaliation. However, in law enforcement, it is almost inherent that when a person does file a grievance, the employee is often retaliated against. Do you agree or disagree with that? And if you do, how would you combat this problem as the leader of the agency?
Well, I can't tell you we're in law enforcement, but I can tell you that my career in Fort Lauderdale, people were encouraged to grieve. I was a very popular leader. People always wanted to gravitate to my units. I ran narcotics units. I was a SWAT commander. You know, I had some hard jobs and enjoyable jobs. Then I became a chief of police down in Dade County, and while I was down there, the labor union, the PBA down there, elected me as the chief of the year, I believe in 2005, and that's a labor organization. So I encourage grievances, and I don't think that exists. You know, I know it doesn't exist with myself and my staff. We've never told anybody, if you feel that you have a labor issue to bring, you bring it up. It's all about business. There's nothing personal about it, and you've been with me. You know that firsthand.
I have to agree. We filed numerous grievances already, and we haven't had any backlash. So,
and nor will you get any. We may defend the grievance, or we may agree with the grievance. We may try and get rid of the grievance, you know, to work it out amicably if that's possible. And you try and do that as well.
absolutely.
But to any union to ever think that during my leadership that they have to worry about filing a grievance, that'll never happen.
Thank you.
If I may, I do have a follow-up to that. A lot of times in your command staff may have one philosophy, and you are in charge of quite a large agency. And I have come across, as I do because I'm the business agent, where there are always going to be pockets of people in any agency, not particularly Broward Sheriff's Office, but it is somewhat inherent that in any agency it's impossible to rid every leader from that notion that they feel they have to squash somebody who would use their due process rights to grieve. And I would imagine as a leader that you would always have to keep an eye on that. Would you agree? Or always be in touch with your command staff
Well,
and
I-
other leaders about addressing that issue?
Well, I am. I'm very, I'm a hands-on leader, I'm not, I'm out in the field. I don't stay in the office very much, and, I go out to my community, I go out to, I visit, try and visit the different districts as often as I can. I see deputies in Publix, I see deputies, did we see each other jogging one time? I see deputies jogging, we stopped, we had a conversation. I see deputies in gyms, so I'm a people person. And that's probably where you get most of your information. And I've always said this, I think most labor differences are decided upon or settled or worked out, in restaurants or, in offices or in the hallways by the water cooler rather than in courts. And, to settle grievances in courts, it's very expensive, for the unions, and we understand that. And, we want your money to go to your members. We don't want your money to go to arbitrations.
Sheriff, provide some examples on how you would change the sheriff's office recruitment practice. How can you compete with other cities when our starting pay is much lower than other local departments?
Yeah, we already have. I have Kevin Granville. We have like a little recruiting squad, and Kevin Granville is heading up recruitment for the DLE side of the house. Keith Martin is heading up recruitment for the fire side of the house. They go out constantly to job fairs and everywhere, everywhere else to recruit. And then the most important thing I've done, and I hope you're aware of this, is now we've identified money from the budget to go towards paying for future deputies to go through the academy, so we can compete with the other agencies around. So that's that's very important. And the best recruiting thing we can have is this green uniform. Though, when you all go out and do your jobs and you see the men and women in this agency, when I see them in Deerfield Beach or West Park or Weston and Pompano and everywhere else we serve, and I see them in community events, and our men and women are disciplined, they're compassionate people, and they connect with the community. And one picture's worth 1,000 words. And when people bring their children or the youngsters to events and they see police officers, deputies interact with them, yeah, I want to be like that. I've been to so many high schools. I don't know any high school. I don't think there's many high schools in Broward that I haven't been there at least sometime to talk. And when I talk to the kids, I'm always talking about how to handle interaction with deputies on the road, how to make it safer for you and how to make it safer for the deputy, how to avoid that confrontation. And then I always end with a pitch. I tell them what kind of jobs we have and what kind of salaries you could be making. I remember when I went out last year during that horrific time when Flocka was inundated that county, and I want to give credit to nobody did as much as the Broward Sheriff's Office and our deputies to rid that poison from our streets. And now it's really not. It's very hard to find Flocka anywhere right now. And even during that time, while I was out with some of the other members of the agency, talking to the community about Flocka and explaining what it does to you and what have you. We were, in fact, we did such a good job with it. Lieutenant Ozzie Tianga got asked, I was asked to send a representative to China with a contingent of people from the United States. I don't know if you knew that or not, that spoke with the Chinese government about the ills of this drug and this poison that was made in their labs. But even during those Flocka times, we were recruiting kids. We're always talking to kids. How's your grades? You're listening. Make good decisions. How do I become a cop? Make great decisions. When your mom and dad tell you not to go in that car, not to go with those people, don't go in that car. Don't go with those people. So, I think they say in business, the best advertisement is word of mouth. And our best recruiting are our deputies and our firefighters and our civilians, our detention deputies.
Sheriff, are you in favor of a safety committee that meets monthly and records meeting minutes, which will track progress on the concerns and the safety issues of the deputies in this agency?
Yes.
And would you support deputies also being involved in that committee?
Yes. I'll tell you, a story when I was a sergeant a long time back with another agency. I was told to go to, it was a rotation, I was told to go to the comm center and be the sergeant in the comm center for a month. I think at that time we were in for a month. And during my month, I remember this story, a bunch of chairs were brought into the comm center, brand new chairs. Comm center chairs were brought in and they didn't fit smoothly under the console, and the men and women of communications didn't really like the backs and what have you. So I always remember, wouldn't it have been a good idea to be user-friendly and make sure the end user was satisfied with the equipment and the tools and the technology that they're getting? Why wouldn't we let them go to the store, and test the chairs out and see what they were like? So anything that we're going to do, the uniforms, when we changed over from white to green, everything we've done, I want the boots on the ground, the people that make us look great to be involved in those decisions.
Sheriff, well, this is two parts. One is regarding the safety committee, we are going to share with you one concern when the tape is off due to the operational nature of the safety of the deputies that we would like to bring to your attention. And it's just one of the many things that our very talented members think of and identify some of the weak spots and so forth. And we would absolutely love to start that right away if that's possible.
As I said, the only deterrent are our own imaginations. So let's start it. Let's get the committee going. And Jeff knows that through conversations with me, if I say I'm going to do something, my yes is a yes, my no is a no, and we'll start a committee. And I don't know where it's going to go, but we certainly want to hear what people have to say.
Excellent.
Sheriff, the state of Florida has a system where all vendor contracts and all payments made from the agency are viewable online. Would you commit to such a system for the agency? Are there any other plans you have to make the agency's budget and spending more transparent?
Well, I believe it is transparent. There, first of all, there's something, I think it's Chapter 119, public records request. So anytime we want a public records request, we have no choice, rightfully so, but to give anybody from the public or from our agency the documents they want. To be very honest with you, I would check with the IT people. I'm not going to write a check that the IT people can't cash right now. It sounds like something that we can do in the future, maybe in the immediate future, maybe in the distant future. But I would have to see what projects they have and what priorities and what's and as a leader, I wouldn't say that we're going to go and do this today. To be transparent, of course. But to put it online or what have you, I don't really even know what that would entail. But I'll certainly talk to the IT people about it and take that suggestion back to command staff and see what can be done.
So as a follow-up, because I understand it actually would cost money to change the programming, the state of Florida offers it, but at a time where it would be neutral, the cost would be neutral, the idea behind it would be something that you support.
Well, the idea and the concept would be something I'd support, absolutely. There's nothing not to support about it. Not to support. It's a good idea, but there are priorities, and I set the priorities for the agency, and I'd have to look at the priorities out there and decide where that fall. It might fall first, it might fall ninth, or it might fall somewhere in between. That's why I want to make a commitment right now.
Okay. Sheriff, do you support having a budget watch committee that could help identify needs and waste within the agency?
Well, I support anybody making suggestions. As I said before, the best leaders are the best listeners. Early on, shortly after, I think it was my first budget cycle as sheriff, we were forced to make some cuts due to the county commission forced cuts. And there were these were $1 million ticket items that we had to cut out. And what I elected to go with as we had the budget go through, because the county commission, the rules of the game, and county commission gives you the money and you live with it ultimately. It's not a battle. We don't lose battles to them. Battles are if we have a basketball game, I got a 50% chance of winning and you have a 50% chance of winning. That's not how it is with the sheriff and this county commission. You produce a budget and ultimately they give you what they want to give you, and that's what you move forward with. a suggestion, I'm going to listen intently. But at the end of the day, the leader has to make the decision based on all the information available to him or her.
Thank you.
Sheriff, in light of our current staffing shortages, would you consider going back to a system where call takers would redirect calls of barking dogs, music complaints during non-enforceable hours, streetlights not working, burnout traffic signals to the proper department instead of dispatching a deputy?
Yes. Good suggestion. We'll look into it.
We used to have a system like that. It was a quality control officer. It just streamlines the process, and it frees up the deputies to respond to legitimate calls
Yeah.
and proactively police the streets that need that proactive policing.
Yeah.
So, thank you for recognizing that. Sheriff, due to recent current events that have highlighted the average road patrol deputy is clearly outgunned by suspects. Do you support ensuring that deputies have an AR-15 provided by the agency?
Well, the deputy would have to be qualified and go through the course and what have you. That's the first thing. Training's the most important. Training's paramount. But when you talk to police leaders around the country, oftentimes where agencies have stockpiled these firearms and rifles for deputies or police officers, they stay in the closet and they don't get checked out. So that's something that, and there's a major financial impact to that. So another thing is, if you purchase those ARs, and that money's coming from somewhere, so something's not going to be, something's not going to be bought. So it's another thing that I think you and members of the IUPA team need to meet with me and staff, and I think we need to have intense discussions about that and how it would be done, and if it could be done, if it's feasible. People are going to come in here and say, I could buy this, I could buy this, I could buy this. Until you've been where I've been and sat in my seat and understand the money and understand the issues, you can't come in here and say, that question is probably everybody's going to probably say yes. I'm giving the honest answer. Nobody could say yes or nobody could say no until they understand the finances of this agency, where we are, what's out there, what bills have to be paid. But I will say this, every decision I make, and nobody, whether you think I made a right decision or wrong decision, nobody can contradict this. Every decision I make is in the best interest of public safety. And if that's in the best interest of public safety, then that's something certainly we have to explore. But if I'm buying, if this agency is buying rifles, we're going to qualify with them and we're going to carry them.
If the financial impact is the biggest hindrance, because I do realize for 1,400
It would be
deputies, it'd be
not
a very large.
I don't mean to
turnaround.
interrupt you, Jeff, but it would be the only hindrance.
Okay. If ways of doing a bulk purchase for a discounted price could be achieved, and having even the deputies purchase the weapons through a payroll deduction, so that it'd be no loss to the sheriff's office, but the deputies would benefit by getting a reduced price because of the bulk purchase.
That's something
Would that be something that?
we have to explore that. Have to.
Sheriff, you are seeking our endorsement. Can you tell us what you know about this particular union and what type of changes this union has made at the sheriff's office? Do you agree with the changes and see them in a positive light?
I know one thing about this union that puts a smile on my face every day, and this is in all aspects of the union. This union, the reason you're doing this and the reason you're videotaping this right now is so the members see everything that happened, because the members are going to vote. And that's the greatest thing about this union. You get it. You're not like other unions I've dealt with that go from the top down, and everybody in that four-person or one-person board makes the decisions for everyone. I've dealt with a union like that. The fact that everything is from the bottom up here. You want the people that are actually doing the job to have a say. That's what's so refreshing about this union. Okay?
Sheriff, as a follow-up to that, this local union does recognize that political endorsements are very important to all candidates seeking elected office. With that said, there are generally two different ways a union will provide an endorsement. One is where only the leadership selects who to endorse, and the other would be allowing the membership to select who to endorse. Can you tell us if there's any difference in your opinion, if one endorsement would mean more than the other based on those two strategies?
Of course, the endorsement would mean more to me coming from a vote of the entire membership. Then you know if you didn't make 5 people happy or upset 5 people. You know that your body of work is being looked at by the deputies you see in churches, in temples, on football fields, in the restaurants, and just, when they come up to you and they tell you, I mean, I can't even tell you how many of our deputies and firefighters and non-sworn personnel and detention deputies come up to me when they see me and say, thank you for the leadership and thank you for things like that. And these are people, this is the majority of people on this agency. These are the men and women in this agency who couldn't find, what's that law called we use?
The blog about the police things?
Yes.
Leo Affairs.
Leo Affairs. These people couldn't find Leo Affairs if I gave them a roadmap. These are the people that are relevant. These are the people that don't complain every 3 minutes. These are the people. These are the real people. These are the people who are the backbone and the heart and soul of this agency. These are the people you want to hear from. I mean, I hope there's nobody out there that really thinks with, not that I'm saying that, I'm busier than anybody else, but Sheriff of Broward County is a voluminous job, and I think you'd all agree with me. I mean, for anybody to think that I would go on Leo Affairs and read it or look at it or say, oh, this person said this on Leo Affairs, that's relevant, I'm going to change, or I'm going to do something differently. I mean, it doesn't work that way. It's the people get it right.
Sheriff, how do you view labor unions, and what would you do to assure a good working relationship?
Well, when I was growing up with my brother and sister in New York, Long Island City, and then Long Island, every meal my mom put on the plate, or on the table, or every winter jacket we had was because of a labor union. My father was a proud member of the PBA for about, I think, 50 years maybe, between New York City and NYPD and Palm Beach Sheriff's Office. So grew up, understand the importance of labor unions. I'm a life member of the FOP, so I understand labor unions. I support labor unions, and that's what I think about them. They have to be. They have to be. And I'm sorry, but can you repeat the last part of your question?
What would you do to assure a good working relationship?
Communicate. I think I've done that. There's many. Jeff has my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number. He's called me on that a few times. I've called him on his, and it's no different with Walt Dix. It's no different with Tony Marciano. It's no different with Joe. I mean, people, if they need to talk to me, they need to talk to me, and we reach out and we speak. Total communication, and most of the time we work it out. Sometimes we can't work it out, and we have to have a grievance. And sometimes a grievance isn't the worst thing in the world, because it gets that. The rule is done, the arbitrator puts down the rule, and now you have a way to govern yourself. Not that we look for grievances, we look not to have, but sometimes the contract is read differently by lawyers or unions in the agency and our lawyers, and sometimes it's healthy to go to arbitration and have that final say of the way to do things. But that's the exception, and I think communication, and I think I got a great relationship with our union members.
Well, Sheriff, that's the end of the questions that we have for you. I certainly thank you for taking the time to answer those questions openly and honestly. And again, I'll give you the floor again if you'd like to say anything to the members in a closing statement or anything else that you have. Feel free, the floor is yours.
Well, I would tell our members first. These are horrific and tragic times in the United States of America. You all know that. They all know that. Please put God first. Bring God into your lives. Over this summer, everybody wants to make some overtime, and we need to make overtime to pay some of these bills, and I understand that. But I would say to the membership, make sure you're taking time off and vacation time and taking time to spend that with the most important people in your lives, and that's your own families. That especially with everything going on in America right now. Spend time with your families. These jobs will be here when you come back. These are great jobs, these are great careers, and now people work so hard. We've reduced violent crime every year. I've been the sheriff of Broward County because of our people. And not only the IUPA membership, I mean, it's, certainly the men and women out there on the street, but, our community outreach people help us so much. Our non-sworn help us so much. People say, why do we do these things? Like sometimes people say they'll see me and some deputies at grocery giveaways or gun buyback or a shred-a-thon. It's a very small minority of people, but they criticize that. And about criticism, that's okay too, but lions don't ever care about the opinion of sheep. Leaders do what leaders need to do. Everybody wants to be the beast until it's time to do what beasts do. I don't back away from that. I accept that challenge and that responsibility. But the reason we do these things is because when we give folks that are maybe struggling, when we give them a full basket of groceries, or we shred their documents and maybe prevent them from being a victim of identity theft down the road, don't you think that they have this connection? Wow, deputies help me, police help me, these folks help me. Maybe they're going to tell you, instead of you being the enemy, maybe they're going to tell you where little Johnny was bringing a gun to school that day. So whatever little I could do by having better relationships with the community to make it safer, I do. And that's what a lot of the other, folks do. But we have reduced violent crime. We've kept young kids out of jail. I've been a football coach all my life. Played football, coached at the high school level, coached at the midget football level. I'm a Brian Piccolo winner for my youth sport coach of the year, and it's great to be involved with the community. I mean, to connect with the community, there's nothing better. Then these are people that you meet, and maybe you don't have to chase around, and maybe you don't have to get hurt chasing after these people. So, I would thank everybody for accepting my mission to reduce violent crime, to keep kids out of jail. And again, I would just say, you have a sheriff who deeply cares. There is not a more qualified candidate that's going to be sitting here. I'm a battle-tested leader. I put God first. And I'm ready to accept the challenges for the next 4 years, and I hope this body will endorse me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming, appreciate it.
Thanks, Sheriff.